Razabani for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Delighted to have on Zoom Mr. David Price. David, firstly, how are we doing?
Good, thanks, Jazz. Yeah, all good, mate. All good, thanks. Yourself?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for jumping on at such short notice as well. David, only one place to start. Last night, we saw Anthony Joshua take a crushing loss to Alexander Usyk. What did you make of his performance and the game plan, firstly?
I thought his performance was good, to be honest. It's all good and well talking game plans before a fight, especially amongst fans and outsiders looking in. But the reality of implementing a game plan against someone like Usyk, who's so difficult to pin down and, you know, set your feet to let the power punches go, being an aggressive fighter against Usyk isn't the same type of being an aggressive fighter against, like, let's say, someone with slow feet who's a bit tough and is a bit of a stationary target. So I think the game plan of aggression was implemented to a degree because he held the centre of the ring. He tried to control the ring space. He made Usyk work for every second of every round, to be fair, which he did. I don't think I've ever seen Usyk looking as fatigued as he did at the end of the fight, and that was credited to the way Joshua forced the pace, if you like. You know, he done what he done with the body shots. He went to the body early, and he didn't get greedy with it either. I mean, you could say he could have went more, but when you're throwing body punches, you're leaving yourself open to counters, and you don't want to be doing that against Usyk. So I don't think he could have done much more, to be honest, and that's why it's although it's a crushing defeat, he can take solace in the fact that I think he left it in there, which is all you can ask from him, really.
A lot of people were expecting Joshua to throw more body shots, which we saw him do, but also more combinations, 4, 5, 6 punch combinations. He said at the end, and we'll come to the aftermath a bit later, but he said at the end, I'm not a 14 stone heavyweight, I'm an 18, 19 stone heavyweight. Is it impossible for someone that size, that big, to throw consistently 4, 5, 6 punch combinations?
Again, it all depends on what's in front of you. If it's a stationary target or who's a bit of a heavy bag, then yeah, you can hit 2, 3, 4, 6 punch combinations, whatever people are screaming for. But the reality is, if you're fighting someone who's constantly moving, whether it's moving their upper body from the waist, whether they're moving their feet, moving left to right, by the time you've thrown the second punch, they're gone. I think a couple of occasions he backed Usyk up to the ropes, which was something I said before the fight that might have been an idea to do. Back him up to the ropes, take away the southpaw stance, and then try and let the punches go then. But at that point, I think it was a bit later on in the fight, Joshua was starting to feel the pace himself, so he couldn't give himself the space. You know, he crowds his punches, he ends up too close, and the clinch was initiated. But no fighter in the world would ever be able to throw a 6 punch combination at Alexander Usyk because they'd just be shadow boxing, and it's wasted punches. You know, when any fighter will tell you, if you're throwing punches that are missing the target, it takes more out of you than actually even hitting a glove or hitting an odd part of the body. So I don't think it was reasonable to think that he'd be throwing 5 and 6 punch combinations against someone like Usyk, because even though he is 18, 19 stone, he probably, you know, he could throw them punches against, I'm trying to think of a fighter, let's say Derek Chisora, for argument's sake, someone who's a lower centre of gravity, comes forward, isn't constantly moving, but that's not fair on Derek, because Derek's got a good head movement, good defence. But you get where I'm coming from, I'm sure. Honestly, I thought he was in the fight up until about round 9, and then Usyk ran away with it.
You mentioned in round 9 he had probably his best round of the fight, where it looked like Alexander Usyk was feeling the pressure and the intensity and Joshua's punching power. But then round 10 starts and Usyk just brought it out like a champion. Were you surprised with that?
Yeah, well, that's what he's got. He can draw something. he's got things in reserve that you don't know are there, and he drew it out there and then when he really needed to, because at the end of round 9, I was like, this looks like he's gonna overpower him here and get him out of there. That was my initial thought, and then he's found something in that reservoir, which only great champions do, and he done it and pulled it out the bag, and it just stopped Joshua right in his tracks, and any type of onslaught which he had in his mind was taken away because he was then having to deal with getting punched as well as the thinking side of things, the thinking element things, the setting traps, the feinting, the twitching. Next thing, he was getting it with clean punches, and that then takes you into a different state of, shall we say, like a different state of, a different mental state, what you're having to deal with. It's taking its toll even more, where you're having to deal with different things even more. So your heartbeat raises, your heart rate goes up, your breathing rate will go up. All that will come alongside what you're already feeling, and that just took Joshua over the edge, I thought, because he was on the edge at that point anyway. But I think physically and mentally that just took him over the edge, and that's when he ran away with it in them last 4 rounds.
What do you make of the scorecards at the end there?
Yeah, I had it to Usyk by 4 rounds, and so that I think that's not far off what one or two of the scorecards were, and one of them gave it to Joshua, which I thought was, I don't know what fight he must have been watching, but again, boxing's subjective, isn't it? He may have seen Joshua as the aggressor, maybe throwing more power punches, but I've seen the CompuBox statistics. I think I've seen it on the IFL page, and Usyk threw landed more power shots. So yeah, it was a bit wrong, that scorecard, but the right man won at the end of the day. That's all that matters.
David, I think it was 2013 where you had your back-to-back fights with Thompson, which resulted in defeats for you. He's had back-to-back defeats with Usyk. We saw him behave in a manner which we haven't seen before in the ring. I'm sure you saw it. He walked out, he walked back in. He gave a strange type of interview, or not even interview, but he spoke on the mic in a manner which we've never seen before. We saw him crying at the press conference. What is a man going through? What is he going through? You've been there. You've been in those dark holes in your life before.
Yeah.
What is he going through as a fighter?
Yeah, well, he's going through a tough time, obviously, and I think what's happened with AJ, and I think what happens with myself on a smaller scale, is that you've gone from being the so-called, I was like the next big thing, but he was the darling of British boxing, hadn't he, Joshua? And he changed it for the better massively. But he gone from that, and I think since the Ruiz fight, I think he's been fighting to get the respect back, which he had, and he struggled to gain it back. Even though we beat Ruiz again, I think he's been hurting since that, and he just wants the respect of the public and the boxing people back, because so many people have turned on him. So many people have turned on him, and I think it's bothered him. Now, I think last night, what he done after the fight, that was just his emotions built up and pent up, spilling out after a fight at an emotional moment. I don't think he knew what he was doing. I don't think he knew how to deal with it. I think at first when I seen him storming out the ring, I seen a few interviews. I think it was Teddy Atlas said he thought Joshua was too pleased to lose in the first Usyk fight, and I was like, now he's gone from one extreme to the other, where he's a sore loser and he's kicking off. And is he doing that because he feels like that, or is he doing that because people have said he took it too light, did defeat too easily last time? I think he's a deep thinker, Anthony Joshua, and I think he cares what people's opinion are of him deeply. And he is only human at the end of the day, and he has been under immense pressure since he turned pro, but more so since he's selling stadiums out. He's carrying British boxing until Tyson Fury come back and beat Deontay Wilder. So he's had a lot of pressure on him, and I think what done it for him last night was that I think he knows deep down he couldn't have done any more last night, and the fact that he couldn't have done any more and still lost to the better man, I think that's what hurt him most. I mean, only he'll know why he reacted the way he did and why, you know, and I wouldn't look too much into what got said either, because it's an emotional time after the fight anyway. You know, I think he's a little bit lost. And if you look behind the fame and the fortune, however much money he's worth, last night's fight and whatever he got paid, whether it was silly money, it's not going to make a difference to his life. It's not going to compensate him. It's not going to make him feel any better. The human being is going to be damaged. His pride's going to be damaged, you know, and he's going to be upset. He's going to be depressed, and it's got a feel for him really, because it's going to be tough for him to overcome it. Yeah, because he does seem a little bit lost, but at the same time, obviously, Usyk deserved the limelight, and we're all talking about what Joshua done after the fight, and it's kind of the same as what happened with the first fight. Usyk boxed the masterclass, but it was more about what Joshua done wrong. Why did he do them tactics? You know, where did he get it wrong? But let's look at where Usyk got it right again, which I think was what happened last night.
David, when you fought Thompson, I think there was a 5-6 month gap between the first fight and the second fight. Joshua's gone in there after 11 months in the ring with Usyk from the first fight to the second fight. He spoke yesterday about potentially being back in the ring in November and December. Is his mind still not there where he wants to get out that soon? Or what would your advice be for him? Because a lot of people are calling for him to take some time out, a year out, 18 months out, enjoy life. You know, he's only 31, 32-ish. He's got enough time in the heavyweight division. What would your advice be to him?
I mean, I can understand why he wants to get back in the ring. And I mean, touching on my fight with Thompson, my rematch was literally 3 months later, and that was one of the reasons why, was because I wanted to put the right wrong straight away, but it didn't work out for me. Put the wrong right straight away, but it didn't work out for me. Now, he'll obviously won't be doing it with the same fella again, but I think he just wants to get back to winning ways. And the longer he has out the ring, he'd be getting itchy feet and wanting to get back in and put that right and get that feeling of winning again and feeling good. You know, and so I can understand it from that perspective. But a rest won't do him any harm, because although he's had 11 months out the ring, he lives the life of an athlete. He should just go and be a young man for a year or two. You know, we can come back when he's 34, see what's happening with the belts and everything else, but go and enjoy life. But obsessive, perfectionist people like Anthony Joshua will struggle to enjoy life outside of boxing. In my opinion, like I said, you can have as many Rolls Royces, mansions as you want, but what he really wants, you can't have, and it'll be hurting him. So the only way you can ease that pain is to go and carry on trying to get it, and I think that's what he'll do. I think he'll come back pretty quick.
Is it a stage in his career now where he needs his loved ones, he needs his closest friends around him to give him comfort? We know, and I'm not saying he has mental health issues, but we know how mental health can affect anybody, no matter who you are. But is it important at a time like this, especially after what we saw last night, that he's surrounded with people that care for him and care what's best for him?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's got kids, Johnny. I think he's got a kid, or I don't know, he's got one kid yet. So, you know, just focus on family for a little bit, I suppose. And, you know, but I've been there, and you know, when I lost the second time to Tony Thompson, my world fell apart. I had 2 gorgeous kids. They were 3 and 6, 3 and 7, gorgeous. Me 2 kids, and I tried to, you know, went away with them on holiday with my wife and family time and everything else, but I weren't there. I weren't there on the holiday. I was in my own head thinking about what went wrong, how can I put it right, and so it's easier said than done. It's hard to switch off from it, and again, especially if you're a perfectionist and your own worst critic, like Anthony Joshua, like I was, you know, he said last night, could have done better, could have done better. You know, he needs to give himself a little bit of credit as well at the same time. And sometimes fighting against the reality of things, you know, like I had this chinny thing, couldn't take a punch. That used to do my head in. But eventually, I accepted it, that my punch resistance wasn't the greatest. And when you accept things, it just lifts a weight off you a little bit. It lifts a weight off you a little bit. Now, if Anthony Joshua can accept he's not the best anymore, it might just lift a little bit of a weight off him. And he might just start enjoying the sport again. Take that pressure away. You don't have to be the best, but you can still be one of the best, one of the very best, and people still love you and want to watch you fight. And it might just bring the enjoyment and the love back and that pressure away. But he will need his friends and family, as we all do. But you know, only he can make things better, and it's just how he deals with it. And again, it's like it's easy for us to say, well, you know, he's a superstar, a multi-millionaire. Well, why should he be upset? But he is a human being, and the thing that mattered most to him went wrong. So it's all relative.
David, thank you. I appreciate you giving me a few moments of your time again at such short notice as well. And yeah, let's look forward to what the heavyweight division holds for us in the coming weeks with Fury, Usyk, Hrgovic obviously won last night, Joyce Parker around the corner, Daniel Dubois. So a great division still, and yeah, I appreciate you jumping on.
So thanks for having me.
David Price, IFL TV. Thank you very much.
So stay tuned.
Welcome, Team Everlast, to the Team Everlast Fitness app. Download the Everlast Fitness app and find your greatness within.